President Trump will welcome Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today. The meeting could shape the future U.S. policy in the Middle East. Their talks will likely focus on peace in Israel.
Just yesterday, a Trump administration official said peace didn't necessarily have to stem from a two-state solution. That idea is in contrast to long-standing U.S. policy. So Tal Shalev is a political correspondent at Walla News, and she joins us now from Washington. Thank you so much for joining us, Tal. There's a lot on the agenda when it comes to this meeting, and certainly some of the things that Donald Trump has talked about during the campaign. Now that he's actually in office, he seems to be in flux, or at least the policy is not yet clear. Tell me what we can expect. Give us sort of an overview.
Well, good morning to both of you. From the Israeli point of view, this is a very, very important meeting, especially from Benjamin Netanyahu's point of view. If you just, and the essence of it is that it's not Obama anymore. You know, Netanyahu had 8 very difficult years with President Obama, and now he is looking forward to this meeting with President Trump just to demonstrate how close the relationship can be and will be when he has the chance to work with a Republican president. It's the first time, by the way, in Netanyahu's history as prime minister that he will not be welcomed in the Oval Office by a Democrat president, but rather by a Republican president. That being said, Netanyahu is also very much concerned. We do know that Trump is not just, you know, the usual typical Republican president he could be hoping for, and he has been saying in recent days to some of his closest advisors that Trump's complexity and his personality is something that we need to be aware of. But agenda-wise, the 3 most important issues on the agenda from Netanyahu's point of view are Iran, Syria, and of course the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But he has been stressing that the Iranian issue is the #1 issue from his point of view, and that is what he wants to talk and discuss first thing in the meeting.
Tal, President Trump has suggested that his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, at one point saying that if he can't fix the Middle East situation and bring peace to the Middle East, no one can. A lot of people would find that surprising. Someone who's never had any kind of political background or experience would be able to attempt something like that, much less achieve it, given the number of presidents who have tried going back many, many years. What's your take on that? You know, there seems to be an understanding that the Israeli government does like Mr. Kushner. He's been in contact with not just the Israelis, but also other leaders in the Arab world. Do you think he can achieve this?
Well, I think that we should depart from our conventional wisdoms about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and about negotiations. And if we do that, you know, in Israel there has been a lot of talk about the need for a new approach. So actually bringing a mediator or bringing an envoy that does not necessarily come from this realm of Israeli-Palestinian negotiations, actually I think could be positive and could actually have some optimistic outlook, because and I think that's what we're hearing in Israel. Of course, Kushner is very close to Netanyahu. We just read in the New York Times over the weekend that Netanyahu actually stayed in the Kushner household in his early years in New York. So the contact, the personal relationship with the Israeli side will probably be great. But the question is, of course, how will be the relationship with the Palestinian side? And given this briefing that we heard last night from the White House, the senior White House official, about a departure from the two-state solution, it's very interesting to see how the Palestinians will react to Kushner and how the Palestinians will react to this new approach. It's true that Kushner has been meeting with Arab leaders and has been talking apparently about some kind of regional approach to solving the conflict. Netanyahu will probably be very happy and enthusiastic to follow suit on that approach. But the Palestinians are not necessarily so enthusiastic and will probably be at loggerheads about the fact that the White House already is saying that the two-state solution is not necessarily the only solution on the table.
Well, that was my follow-up, which is, yes, I think a lot of people would agree that bringing a fresh pair of eyes to the situation would be beneficial. On the other hand, when you hear the president saying that he might possibly move the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and now that the United States would probably, you know, at least there's talk that the two-state solution may not be the path forward. it does seem that in many eyes that, you know, the positions that the government, the Trump administration is taking might perhaps be more pro-Israeli than anything having to do with the way the Palestinians feel about the situation.
Well, definitely the Trump administration is going out of its way to show how pro-Israeli it is. But we have to say one thing that I think is very important. I think it's really important. You know, President Obama for 8 years tried to conduct these negotiations, and time and again, Netanyahu would make up excuses or try and dodge any concessions. I don't think President Trump is someone that Netanyahu will feel so confident to say no to. I think that when President Trump says that he might be willing to depart from the paradigm of the two-state solution, he will also be asking for something in return from Netanyahu. So it's true that it appears that it's a very pro-Israeli administration, but this is also an administration and a president who says that he wants to make a deal. And in order to make a deal, he will have to make Netanyahu make some concession towards the Palestinians, and concessions that the administration, the previous administration, wasn't able to get.
Tal, this is an important meeting for both men, but for Netanyahu, he has sort of multiple audiences looking at him, especially the audience back home. What sort of message do you hope that they'll see when they see the two men shaking hands and talking later today?
Well, first of all, we should say that the overall approach in Israel towards President Trump has been quite positive, especially the voices coming from the Israeli government, which is the most right-wing government we've had in years. And there have been very, very high expectations towards the Trump administration. Actually, those expectations are being lowered day by day. Just over the weekend, the president gave his first interview to an Israeli media outlet, and he sounded a bit less enthusiastic about the settlements, for instance, comparing to what the Israeli government was waiting for. From Netanyahu's point of view, the picture, just the celebration, just him showing that he is now in the best relationship with President Trump, that is enough. But back home, he's under a lot of pressure to come back home with some achievement, especially on the Palestinian issue and on the settlement issue. Netanyahu's government and his political rivals are pressing him to get some kind of recognition or some kind of okay from the White House to expand settlement construction. That's one of the big questions in the meeting. And we should mention that Netanyahu currently is under several criminal investigations and involved in several criminal allegations. And this meeting at this time is perfect for him politically wise, because this is where he's in his element. You know, America is where Netanyahu is always at his best. He speaks great English. He presents himself as the best leader, and he's also using President Trump in a way to consolidate his political situation and to say, look, I'm the only person at this time who can deal with President Trump. So let's brush away all of those scandals. They're not important. What's important is that I am here taking care of Israel's interests and Israel's security and strengthening the alliance between Israel and the United States.
Tal Shalev, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, we'll have full coverage of President Trump's joint news conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You can watch that at noon Eastern right here on CBSN.